Finally, the terrible memories of Earth's world wars have started to fade. After discovering the strength of unification, humanity reclaimed and restored their once ravaged planet. However, all of these accomplishments have become threatened by man's most incredible discovery: time travel. Frightened by its potential for disaster, government leaders immediately seized the time machine, codenamed Pegasus, and moved it to a secret location. This is the story of Earth's most timely hero.
Well, Andy, I have time traveled. I've gone into the future and yanked you back to the program. How are you?
Indeed. I had to teleport back to the phone, George.
Give us, if you can, some information. Did anything go wrong with Project Pegasus? Anything?
Oh, God. Sometimes a technical glitch would occur where the vortal tunnel that had been opened up in the time-space continuum would begin to collapse. And it was during one of those emergency interruptions of a teleporting. And we were decanted to New York City around 1900 to the Five Points neighborhood of New York City that's depicted in that famous movie, Gangs of New York. And I don't know what the basis in physics is for what happened. I found myself quantum trapped in a squalid tenement. And so one of the more terrifying aspects was just fending for myself for several days. And so I think I have a special insight now to really how miserable living conditions were in certain periods of history and how lucky we are to enjoy a much better time to be alive.
We are very lucky, aren't we?
Yes.
When was the last time that you teleported?
Every day, George. I mean, I did 2 jumps to Mars, really for 3 days.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. My Mars research project is at Lawrence Junior High School in Chatsworth, California. It's right there in the trans-quantum Olympic-sized basketball court inside the gym there. They constructed a huge device. It was this high piece of high technology that powered a portal or doorway at the base of the device that was illuminated with a blue neon color. The device was called a Stargate, and I want to make it clear to your listeners that I'm talking about a real project. It was called Project Pegasus, and there was an actual advanced time travel device called a Stargate. And we find those 2 words dropped in, of course, into Stargate Atlantis on television, the first episode of which was Project Pegasus.
Well, that's pretty smart on their part.
I also did present my story to a number of top television networks. Mm-hmm. And all I can say is I've already presented my account to several leading television networks, and I hope that my facts haven't formed the basis of fringe or other science fiction dramas on television.
Okay, Andy, what's the name of your show?
The title is Once Upon a Time in Time's Stream, My Adventures in Project Pegasus at the Dawn of the Time-Space Age.
Sounds like Stargate. Next.
I just want to make it clear that I wasn't influenced by their information, but in fact, I believe their information or plot lines and so forth may have been inspired by the actual Project Pegasus. So in any case, I lost my train of thought. What was your question again?
Though it's probably a different show, give me a highlight on what you think is on Mars.
Right.
Or what
yes.
could go
okay,
wrong.
Yeah, I was discussing the technology. Right. At Lawrence Junior High School in the gym there, and I could hear all the kids roughhousing behind me, all the other junior high kids. And we would run up a ramp to reach Mars.
That's amazing.
Strangely, I found a very elaborate statue of a bee with the head of a man.
Sounds like the Twilight Zone.
The statue of a bee with the head of a man that's located immediately west of the Home Plate Plateau. That's one of the more interesting statues that I found up on Mars. So it's odd that we would find the statue of a bee with the head of a man at this time in Earth's history on one of our neighboring planets.
Can you say, Andy, whether we get hit by an asteroid or anything like that?
Well, there was catastrophic information that was revealed in one of the time probes. Let me describe it. I quantum leap to the U.S. Supreme Court building on the Mall in Washington, D.C. in the year 2013. The U.S. Supreme Court building was under about 100 feet of brackish water. In fact, there was algae growing on the stately columns in the front of that building. The buildings were very beautiful. The environment was sort of a garden city where there was a sort of a balance between the built and the natural environment. And I do believe that year was selected because of the concern regarding the Mayan prophecy and what may befall us, on December 21st of 2012.
2012.
But had not yet occurred from the perspective of our position in the time-space continuum. And basically give the U.S. Defense Department and this project under Donald Rumsfeld a history of the future. So when I described this probe to 2013, in which clearly there had been a mass disaster and very advanced activities were going on. I mean, one of the things I remember is people were going by on the sidewalk on the sedgeways that Dean Kamen has invented in our time.
Yeah.
So there had clearly been positive transformation of society that involved not just appropriate technologies such as the sedgeway of Dean Kamen, but also the use of substantial coastal flooding, in which presumably the entire eastern seaboard had been flooded with a substantial amount of water. God knows from what. Yeah. Global warming, maybe the collapse of La Palma in the Canary Islands into the Atlantic, perhaps a meteor strike in one of the world's oceans. The future was a pretty nice place to visit.
What a story. We'll go to Brian in Oregon City, Oregon. Go ahead, Brian. You're up with us.
Hey, George. I have to be frank. I really don't believe your guest. I want to know why, if we have all this wonderful time travel technology that's so fantastic, why 9/11 wasn't, undone.
9/11 hasn't come up yet in tonight's broadcasting, so let me raise it. Project Pegasus recovered prior information about 9/11. It's an 18 to 20-second film loop of one of the planes hitting one of the Twin Towers. I saw that plane hit the first tower. I witnessed it personally. Now, the reason I believe that 9/11 wasn't stopped as a result of the Defense Department having prior knowledge of it was because if it's a big event like 9/11 that affects a lot of people, if you prevent it from happening, you then divert the course of all of the events that occur after that event. The paradox is you can't change a future event. So I believe that relative to 9/11, that the U.S. government knew that it was coming. We have evidence of that. We have the moving of Don Rumsfeld's desk to the other side of the Pentagon and other clues that they were preparing for that event on that day.
Rumsfeld, in my book, has created problems in Iraq and Afghanistan with aspartame and everything else. Tell me what you think his true involvement was with Project Pegasus.
Well, I know what his involvement was. He was the defense attaché. And so I think, to the extent that he's now a man in his mid-70s of advanced years, he has everything to gain historically by coming clean about this particular chapter in his career so that teleportation can literally be unleashed to advantage humanity. I mean, he's had a very controversial career and yet was secretly serving on this time-space project. And so, I mean, if we didn't keep planes, trains, and automobiles secret, why were we keeping this teleportation technology secret?
Now, have you had a chance to get up to our website to take a look at the picture from Gettysburg that Andy sent to us? It's up there posted under our highlight reel there. You'll see it right there on the homepage. Take a look at it. He's in it a long time ago. Andy, stay with us. We're at the top of the hour. We're going to come back with you in just a moment. Andy's websites, they're all linked up right now. I'm George Noory, and we'll be back in just a moment on Coast to Coast AM.